Cannot compute. Programming data insufficient. I will accompany you. You may need protection. Due to worn conditions of memory bank, compliance impossible.
Thanks, Robot.
It's not actually.
I'm not streaming.
No. Oh, wait. Nope. There it is.
Oh, is the arrow visible? Let's move that away. Thanks, Robot.
Yep. There we go. We're on the air now.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Do you want to introduce the robot real quick?
If you didn't see it before, do you remember Lost in Space, the bad one? Or was it?
My power supply is getting very weak.
Thank you. He was only called Robot on the show, as far as I know.
Yeah, you're not on camera anymore.
Doesn't matter. You can hear me.
So I have a collection of robots, which Eric gives me new robots every so often.
Yeah, I'm running out of choices. I keep, like, it seems like every year there's like one new, it's like toy wind-up robots and stuff that you get.
I like the tin robots.
Yeah.
I actually just like tin toys in general, but mostly I like robots.
I'm trying to find new tin robot toys all the time, and they come out with kind of a different one every year, it seems, but they're not always great. The Martian crawler one that's like my favorite one.
I have two favorites. I like the Martian crawler one, which is good, and then I have one that's a little dog that like wobbles back.
Oh
and
yeah,
forth,
his eyeballs,
and it has sparks in the back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's got sparks too.
Yep, he has many features.
He scares your cat.
All of them scare my cats. My cats are gigantic wimps.
All right,
they are not fans of robots.
So here we are in the show. Hey, hooray, we're back.
So yes. So hello, I'm Megan.
I'm Eric.
And we do a podcast called Cinema Supercollider, which comes out every week. But we like to do these sort of movie chats once a month where we talk about movies and stuff that's coming up on the podcast. And then also we draw from the Bag of Destiny.
The Bag of Destiny has not been kind to us.
No. So far, the Bag of Destiny has given us the Love Guru. And we should mention that the Bag of Destiny is filled with Chinese bootleg DVDs. So the Love Guru was actually shot by someone sitting in the movie theater with a video camera.
So it is a bootleg of a failed movie sold like maybe last year in a Chinese DVD store.
I think that, what do you mean?
I mean, like, did Scott buy that like when the Love Guru came out 15 years ago? It couldn't be.
No, he probably bought it within the last couple of years. So, yeah.
So, I mean,
So, yeah. Sometimes.
I could find it like a pristine copy of the Love Guru in the bottom of my shoe, I think, if I looked.
I would be interested to know where you're stepping if that's what you found on the bottom of your shoe.
Shit. Get it? Because the Love Guru said.
It was not a good movie, but it was not as bad as we thought it was going to be.
No, the last one was even worse.
The last one that we got was The Mutant, or not even The Mutant Chronicles.
Yeah, we did a whole show on it, and we don't want to talk about it anymore, do we?
No, it was a bad movie. But yeah, so we're going to talk about some movies and some stuff tonight. So one thing that Eric and I have started doing recently is we started watching the Harry Potter movies again.
I love the Harry Potter movies.
Yes, they're good.
Some are better than others. Yeah.
I read all the books, but I haven't seen all the movies. So once we get to the last couple, I will be in new territory for me.
Yeah, I love to ask Megan questions when we're watching Harry Potter because you, of course, read all the books.
I did.
And know lots of character details that didn't make it into the movie. Yes. And like our normal day-to-day life, I'm always asking Megan some like obscure question that there's no way that she would know. And I always ask her like, what is the specific gravity of like pig iron or something like that? And you know,
I don't fucking know.
I don't know what specific gravity is. I don't know what pig iron is. I don't know, but I'll ask you those questions. But if I ask about Harry Potter or the Marvel universe, the X-Men universe, or Dungeons and Dragons,
of certain periods of time, I have not picked up and read a lot of Marvel books in the last, I'd say 10 years, but I had a good long career as a Marvel fangirl in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
And a time frame that you specialized in.
Yeah, for the most part.
But I mean, there are experts out there who can, who could get a PhD in Marvel Universe.
I guess it'd be a weird PhD, but God knows I've met people with stranger areas of study.
I think you could probably get a PhD doing a discussion of just the Harry Potter movies, maybe in film studies or something like that.
Hey, I took some weird classes in college.
So we were watching them with the riff tracks, the comedy tracks in them. And the trouble with the riff tracks in the big movies is the way they're sold on riff tracks is a audio file that you're supposed to sync up with your own copy of the movie. And it should be pretty easy, but it's kind of a pain in my butt, you know? So I ended up with bootleg copies, but I sent extra money to riff tracks. It's like, they say it at the end of the show. They say it on every recording. It says, if you got this somewhere other than riff tracks, go over there and donate some money. And I did.
So you sort of Robin Hood your way in. I stole from the rich movie companies and you gave to the poor rich track people?
If like the DMCA people want to come after me for having not bought Harry Potter movies, that's probably the height of my crime.
Okay. Hey, I'm not telling. Though we just put this on the internet. So, hey, sorry, Harry Potter movie people.
No, I guess I gave the game away. It's been nice knowing you, Megan. I'll see you in 5 to 10 years.
One of the features of our show is picking from a bag of bootleg DVDs, so I'm not really that concerned about it.
No, me neither.
But hey, you know.
So what's the first movie called? The
first movie is Sorcerer's Stone. The second movie is The Chamber of Secrets, and we just started watching the third one. So,
that's the Dog of Darkness, Harry Potter and the Harry
the
Potter
Prisoner of Azkaban. Which
and,
has Sirius Black in it, who is the Dog of Darkness.
Hey, it's the Dog of Darkness. What's the MacGuffin in that one? What is like the main MacGuffin?
Well, Sirius Black is sort of the MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Because he's escaped and is out to get Harry.
In the second one, it's the Horcrux that's a book before we know it's a Horcrux.
Right.
And in the first one, it's the Sorcerer's Stone and a 3-headed dog up in a room.
I feel like the first movie is sort of like, here's Hogwarts.
Yeah,
let's take a tour. Did you meet this person? He'll be important later. But let's meet all of the people because we need to set things up because who knows if there'll be a second book.
Yeah, and I saw that one shortly after it came out, and I completely didn't like it. And I didn't watch any Harry Potter movies after that for a long time until I watched probably the fourth one. And then I went back and watched them, and now I like the first one a little bit because I am familiar with the later ones.
It's as faithful to the book as I think any of the movies are because it was the shortest book and they kind of just needed to get from point to point to point.
The first one, the Sorcerer's Stone.
The first one. The second one, I mean, the books get larger and larger as time goes on, and there's literally no way that they could make an entire movie out of just what's in the book.
So give to the anti-Stephen King-itis Foundation because we're trying to stamp out Stephen Kingism. His books get bigger and bigger and bigger.
I guess. I don't feel like they are anymore.
When's
the last time you read a Stephen King book?
I had trouble. I had a hernia. I couldn't lift those things.
I see. Okay. Anyway, so one of the things that Eric brought up while we were watching the Harry Potter movies is something about how evil Snape was. And I had to shoot him down. I'm not going to get into the later movies, but we've only watched the first 2.5 movies. And my retort for that was, well, he hasn't actually done anything evil.
And I was like, no, he's done a bunch of evil things. And you said, name one. And I was like, I'm sure I can. Let me think about it.
I'm waiting.
He was rude to Harry Potter.
He's a dick. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that aspect of it. He's a dick. Snape is a dick. He's also my favorite character, so I'm gonna stick up for him. But he's a dick, and he's also played by Alan Rickman, who, if you listen to the podcast, you know is my favorite actor of all time. So I'm gonna defend him a little.
Yeah.
But there's other characters out there that people sort of malign as being evil, but they're not necessarily evil. They're just drawn bad. As
what was it? Jessica Rabbit.
Jessica Rabbit.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That was cool.
So So yeah, so if you have other favorite,
so we're enjoying watching it, right? I mean,
right.
I'm enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, if you are out there watching and you have a favorite quote unquote evil,
go ahead,
evil character that you really like, leave us a comment and we'll talk more about that sort of thing, maybe on another movie chat or now.
Well, I mean, you love evil characters because you like to get into what their motivations are, the underlying motivations, because you don't go out to be evil, right? You have an idea inside yourself what motivates a person, and you've always been fascinated with that, right?
Well, right, because nobody is like, I'm evil,
except Voldemort. And who's that guy, that fat guy that was a rat for half of them?
Well, okay, we're still talking about Harry Potter, but just in general, like people, I don't think the motivation is ever to be evil. The motivation is always one of ambition or one of power or one of,
wealth and power.
Yeah, just your own personal motivations. And okay, enough with the booze. What?
I'm just trying to be cool. Please just indulge my coolness.
Okay, you're cool. You have a drink. I have a drink too. I have Kirkland sparkling water for when the fancy shit that's got a brand name is too fancy for you.
Yeah, you get 36 cans for the price of 24.
It's got no sugar, and it sort of tastes like it might have been a grapefruit at one point in time, but it's not Pamplemousse, which is the fancy LaCroix brand. So now that we've had our drinks on display,
so we'll give you updates on Harry Potter as we watch the rest of them.
Yeah,
they're recommended with the riff tracks. Very good riff tracks, I think, on those. They're really on point. They're really funny, and they're a pain to sync up, but you can do it.
Yes, we believe in you. You can do it, or you can just do what Eric did and just find it floating around online somewhere.
Things float down here, Megan.
That's a different movie, but it's a good segue into the next thing that we wanted to talk about, which is we've been watching a lot of horror movies because it was the Halloween season.
I watched horror movies all the time.
But you watch them all the time.
Yeah.
And so you were watching The Stepford Wives.
Yeah, I just watched The Stepford Wives. So I think it's 1973 or 1974. I'm not sure. And it was kind of out of the blue as I was on the exploring the Amazon. And
Eric does that a lot.
Yeah.
When he says exploring the Amazon, mostly what that means is he's just been on Amazon Prime looking at free movies that might be shitty enough or interesting enough for us to do on the show.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
Sometimes it means I'm in a canoe in South America.
Never.
You're not with me every minute of every
day.
That's
true. I'm not. If you've taken a quick trip down to South America that I don't know about, I guess you're pretty sneaky.
Yeah. Anyway, so enough of my comedy. I saw The Stepford Wives. We all know what a Stepford wife is, right? Everybody uses it as sort of like a cultural reference. It's kind of a cliche that's like a conformity gone awry. I guess everybody knows the secret to the Stepford Wives is it's a town where the wives are replaced by robots. And that's scary, right?
Well, that's scary. I think you watched it through the eyes of someone who's not feeling threatened because they are female, but I watched it through the eyes of someone who's feeling a little threatened because she's female in this day and age. And
there's a lot of triggery kind of like things in it.
Right. And the horror aspect of it, I think, hits harder for me maybe than it did for you, because the idea of being turned into this robot that serves one purpose, and that is to serve a man, is kind of terrifying. Because you lose your will and you lose your freedom and you lose your identity. And it's kind of an icky thought to think about. And it's very frightening on certain levels.
It's very similar to the movie Get Out. I think a lot of people saw that.
Sure.
A lot more people saw Get Out than have seen Stepford Wives. But it's very similar type of story. There's a lot of elements of other films before that in it. the short version of the story is a family moves from New York City out to, I guess it's New York State or like Connecticut or something like that, out in the country. They move to this big country estate in a sleepy little village. And the wife notices wherever she goes, all the wives are like wearing long country dresses and are making brownies and cleaning house. And they're like totally fine with that. That's all they do. And she meets someone else in town who's also like kind of a newcomer, and they kind of band together and do some searching around, and things start to look spookier and spookier. And then the new girlfriend, all of a sudden one day, she's one of them. And it's sad, you know, because you like that character. She was really kind of she was like the best friend, you know, character.
Sure.
And she was cool and she was fun to watch. And you see that and it's really sad. And then, of course, I knew this was happening. I didn't know the story, but it's 1974. And every science fiction, horror, like supernatural genre movie from the 70s had a dark, downbeat finish.
The 70s was kind of a depressing time to go see movies.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a bunch of them on the show that were, in some ways, they're excellent films, but they have real downer endings.
Mm-hmm.
Like we watched Silent Running,
Mm-hmm.
which is an environmental sort of science fiction movie
Mm-hmm.
that has a downer ending.
Everybody dies, right?
We watched Soylent Green.
So that's the other one I was thinking of. Yeah,
Soylent Green, which is dystopian future where everyone dies at the end. Yeah, it's well, and Soylent Green is made of people.
Spoilers.
I feel very confident that I can spoil that for you because literally every pop culture thing in the world has already done that for you. So, but it's a great movie. It's actually more interesting not worrying about what Soylent Green is made out of and just watching the movie, knowing that, okay, I know what the big like reveal is at the end.
Yeah, knowing that one line, and I mean, I guess it is when we did the episode on the show, I said it must have been really different to see that movie.
Sure.
When the entire world didn't know the one remembered line from the movie. Soylent Green is made of people.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can't live and not know that somehow, unless you're like a child. Everybody knows that line, right?
There have been a number of movies that the big reveal at the end has been spoiled for.
Yeah, we just talked about Citizen Kane. Everybody knows Rosebud is the sled. It's not a mystery.
Nobody, I mean, pop culture has spoiled that one for you too, because it's been in existence for so long.
Yeah.
We all know what happens in the Crying Game. We all know.
Yes, we do.
We all know
one of your favorite things shows up in the Crying Game.
I
Don't spoil it. These people might not know that.
I love a penis.
Oh, you spoiled it.
I do in a movie. Just let it be there. I just want to see it.
I'm pro penis. I don't need to see it, but I'm pro penis in movies.
Look, guys, we get to see so many boobs in movies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all about seeing some peen.
Look, half of the world's got one. There's no reason to be ashamed you've got one, and there's no reason why people shouldn't be able to look at some actor's dick hanging out. It's not going to hurt you, men. It's not going to turn you gay. I promise you. Well, I don't know. Maybe it could turn somebody, but maybe like very small number of people would turn gay. Somebody has an exceptionally good-looking peen, maybe.
Anyway,
so
for those of you that are here, hello. I know Dave has said hello.
Hi, Dave.
So Dave is here, and there's a couple other of you out there. So hello. Feel free to chat at us while we chat. We're gonna just keep talking about shit. But if you guys have questions or stuff you want to talk about while we're talking about it, like, please, this is a chat. We're chatting with you. And you can chat back at us, and I will read comments and stuff.
Okay. So one of the things I think we were going to talk about more at length today is what I see as kind of like a current renaissance in science fiction movies. And by science fiction movies, I mean I'm using a definition like people might have used in the 70s. Let's say.
We're being fancy.
Well, you know, I'm thinking like Stanislaw Lem and Asimov and Heinlein and all the great Philip K. Dick, all the great like literary science fiction writers. have stories that deal with science and technology and social elements of the culture of mankind or the biology of mankind, and how like these technology things will interact with us in a human level, and explores that in some way that kind of makes you wonder and think and ponder stuff. That to me is, I don't know if maybe they call that hard sci-fi. I'm not exactly sure what that term means, but it's like, you feel like you've watched I don't know, I feel like I've watched a real science fiction movie when I see Ex Machina, you know? It's a story that makes you think, what is it that makes you human? That's like almost all the science fiction movies today are like that. Westworld is basically like that.
Mm-hmm. So we just want to say hello to New Zealand.
Get out of here. What time is it in New Zealand? Like 3 a.m?
What time is it in
Jesus Christ. New Zealand is about as far away as you can get from us.
I know. I told you we had fans in New Zealand.
I just saw a New Zealand guy in the museum today.
That's true. Eric works sometimes at the Field Museum here in Chicago, cleaning dinosaur bones, because
how cool is that?
He does interesting things.
I'm so awesome.
And so yeah, you said that he's from Holland.
He was born in Holland and raised in the continent, and now lives in New Zealand. He spent a lot of time in Africa as well. Like I was telling Akiko today, because she was telling me a story like, well, her and her boyfriend were gonna they had last minute idea to pick up tickets to Japan. They were cheap. They were only $1,000 round trip. And I'm like, who are people who can just drop everything and buy a ticket to Japan? Not because of like wealth or time constraints, but I mean, just like, I'd have to like think about that for a long time and like plan it and stuff. And I work with a bunch of people who are like, oh, next week I'm going to South America. And then after that, I'll be in Germany for a conference for a couple of days. And then I'm going to Antarctica for 2 months.
Well, it's mid-afternoon tomorrow there.
Wow. It's the future.
Because of the dateline. Yes. I used to visit my dad in China. And so I'd have to fly over the dateline going one way. And then I'd fly back, when I'd come home, and I would leave China and I would arrive 20 minutes the same day in Chicago. Weird. Because of the dateline. Yeah. So anyhow, we were talking about
science fiction.
Talking about science fiction. Dave wanted to point out that the science fiction from the 60s was filled with rockets, but everyone's still a racist, which is true.
That's true. I'm talking about like science fiction as science fiction crawled out of the ghetto of genre literature, where there was a time, probably up until when did Margaret Atwood get like fully recognized? Up until fairly recently, where something like science fiction to the literary people who matter in New York and also New York, whatever. It could be the greatest book ever written, but because it was something so lowbrow as science fiction, talking about robots and the future and technology and all that kind of stuff, like the MFA crowd, and they wouldn't give it the time of day. Philip Roth, great writer, no doubt, legendary writer, but I think he broke the minds of all those like literary critics in New York, because it's like everything has to be a Philip Roth book. It has to be like an inner story of a tortured guy and the story of all the pussy he had when he was younger. And like, seriously though, I mean, it's true. No, I'm sure, like even like the short stories in the New Yorker, they're always like that. It's like a gloomy thing. I'm a college professor and I fucked all these young girls for all these years, but now I'm getting old and I feel bad about myself. Fuck you. I don't care. I want to see a science fiction book.
Okay.
Way better.
All right. Well, so science fiction. So what were some things that you wanted to highlight?
So I saw Annihilation this year.
Right.
Which
we talked about briefly last movie chat.
Right. And I'm not going to go into any length about it other than to say I really liked it. And I thought about it for a long time after, and I'm still thinking about it. it's a good science fiction movie is a movie that makes you think about it after it's done. The other one that's occurred to me is Ex Machina, which is now streaming, I think, on either Netflix or Amazon.
Okay.
There's also Her,
okay,
which is similar in a lot of ways to Ex Machina. But these are movies where you watch it and it's not just things happen to characters in laser battles and rockets. It's like,
I mean, I like a laser battle and a rocket. Don't get me wrong, especially if the rocket's made out of like a paper towel tube that they've repurposed. It's like the one thing I really like from the 1960s movies is the shitty rockets.
Yeah, or like control panels that looks like, you know, something they like, it's a pie plate they sprayed and like,
or it's like they went to the dump and they found some sort of panel of gadgets that was in something, and they're like, that will control the spaceship. And then they just took it and then they put it in their set and none of it works, but they pretend and they boop it. Yeah. Boop, boop, boop.
My problem is that I've spent many years of my life finding cool things like that and then just putting it in my environment and keeping it without the plan to make a movie. I just like find some junk.
Dave mentions that Ex Machina and Annihilation are made by the same people.
Oh, very interesting. There are certain problems with all of these movies that people like to talk about, and I'm not going to get into the details of discussing it here. But let's just say something like Her, Ex Machina, the reboot of Westworld, all focus in on a essential human trait, which is, what is consciousness? Is there something? Is there a soul? Is there a self? I think in the modern scientific world, it's pretty much down to the point of where there's if there was evidence of something called the soul, it would have been revealed by now. I think people of serious minds who don't like compartmentalize between parts of their lives, you know, just that's kind of a passé idea. Okay. So the question is, is there a line? And if there is, where does it cross from being a machine that emulates consciousness to being actual consciousness? The best people in neurology and psychology and psychiatry and philosophy today, I think the best people, believe that consciousness is an emergent phenomenon where you take a bunch of small things together and it looks like a certain thing, but then you zoom out and it looks like consciousness. Up close, it's all a bunch of chemical reactions. It's happening very fast and it's very chaotic and you can't figure it out. But it's all working together, and then you step back and you see something. Our cat is having a little party over in the other corner.
We're having a cat party here too.
There's always a cat party.
Right? Yeah, I like that he interrupted your deep philosophical moment with his scratching postness.
Yeah. The other kind of thing they talk about, like the classic example that physicists always like to, I love to watch physicists give lectures. That's my form of entertainment when I'm not doing this.
Eric has favorite physicists, guys.
Yeah, Sean Carroll's my favorite physicist. Everybody knows what a water molecule is.
Where are we going with this?
Okay, you can have individual water molecules, but when does the property of wetness emerge? Are like 200 water molecules? Is that wet? I mean, it's such a minuscule amount of water that it will vaporize quickly. So the idea is wetness is a property that a water molecule could not possibly possess, because wetness is a collection of water molecules experienced from a completely different frame of reference.
Okay.
Consciousness is, maybe they're trying to say, consciousness is something that emerges in such a way that there could be no consciousness on a subatomic level. But the only way that you can conceive of it on a macro level is something that appears to be consciousness, because we all feel it. It's all real to us. You're conscious. I'm conscious most of the time. So the science fiction movies make me wonder about that. I wonder about it. I think about physicists.
So Dave says moisture is the essence of wetness, and wetness is the essence of beauty.
And beauty is love, and love is music, and music is the best.
Okay. All right. I'll go with that. That's cool.
Just call me Plato.
Now, one thing that that sort of, this is nothing to do with movies, but I just finished this game, and I know a lot of you guys out there are gamers. I finished a game called Detroit Become Human, which is it's an excellent sci-fi sort of social justice-y kind of game. You play different androids that have been put into various situations, and it's a branching path game. So there's a little bit of quick time event stuff that goes on in it, but for the most part, you're making decisions about how human or not human, or moral or amoral you want your androids to be. And your androids can die, so the story can end, and you can replay the chapters and pick different choices, but it's one of those butterfly effect kind of things where it's like, you did this, and so somewhere down the line, you're going to have to face those consequences.
A more on rails game that I played fairly recently, but in my old age, it might be my favorite video game ever, is a game called Soma. People who play video games, I'm sure, have heard of it because it's gotten a lot of awards and stuff. And it's another version of this consciousness story where our protagonist's consciousness is transferred to a robot, that like the singularity that they're always talking about. Like, we're going to put my consciousness into a machine and my body will die. And when my eyes open, I'll be in a machine. This is a question that's raised by the transporter on the Enterprise. This is a question that goes way back. It's called the Ship of Theseus, I think, paradox. Like, if you go out on a ship on a journey and like boards break and the mast, you lose the mast, you need this and that, and you replace it bit by bit, every, like all the way. When you sail back into the harbor on your ship, is it still the same ship? Everything has been replaced. We're all being replaced all the time. All of our, our skin cells, our muscle, our brain. My brain is probably not being replaced, unfortunately. It's just sort of deteriorating. But like, are we the same person we were before? You go to sleep at night and you're unconscious. You have no awareness. You're just completely unconscious. You wake up in the morning, am I the same body I was yesterday? I wouldn't have a way to actually test that. These are things I like to think about. And I guess my whole point about this whole thing is that in recent years, we've seen a whole lot more of that. We didn't see that for a long time. And now there are movies that are like challenging about philosophical ideas, sociological ideas, things on a higher level that movie studios would generally say, oh man, people don't want to, like, they changed the name of Harry Carey and the Philosopher's Stone because they didn't want the word philosopher in the title.
You mean Harry Potter?
What did I say?
You said Harry Carey.
Harry Carey? Oh my God, he's been dead 20 years now.
So, to be fair, I would watch Harry Carey in the Philosopher's Stone in a heartbeat. I
can't believe that's such a great slip. How is that? How can you take that as a parapraxis and relate it to my psychology?
Because you're a Cubs fan and you always have Cubs on the brain?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dave mentioned Soma in the comments, and you've played Soma.
I love that game. Yeah. I might play it again just because I loved it so much.
It's really, really good.
No, it's a fucking cool game.
If you're looking for a sci-fi game, that's another
like
great one.
It's first person, or is it? Yeah, it's first person. It's not over the shoulder. It's a first person thing. And I don't think there's any combat in it whatsoever, except when there's certain disturbing things you need to do, but it's mostly a hide from the monster that shows up occasionally kind of thing, and solve puzzles and understand the mystery of what's going on.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
It's great. It's super worth playing. Oh, yeah, if you like those kind of games, because if you're not into the like hide from the monster kind of slow paced sort of things, it might get a little.
If you're like into Doom or
there's no combat and there's no
Halo.
There's none of that. You don't find guns. There's no guns.
Yeah.
So
now, if you're not physically good at playing video games and you've got like spastic thumbs, I can play the piano. You know, I'm not that spastic, but the spastic is probably a wrong word. It's a neurological phenomenon. I'm not that uncoordinated that I can't do it. It's just that my brain and my fingers are not fast enough to keep up with like doing like twitchy games, you know. And Soma was a really good one for me to play.
Okay.
So you saw 2 musicals.
I did. So I am still kind of old school in my Netflix subscription, and I get the discs because I like to watch a lot of old movies that I don't have access to otherwise.
It's fucked up too.
It's weird. I don't understand why they don't just put those on streaming, but whatever, it's fine. I'll pay an extra $2 a month to get some discs. So I watched Anchors Away, and I also watched An American in Paris, both of which have Gene Kelly in them. And first, I have an observation that I need to make about old movies, because I don't think anybody that made those movies was like, people are going to watch this movie again and again and again.
That's an important point. I bring that up all the time too. Yeah.
Like people are going to notice all the shit that's going on in this movie. In fact, we just watched She the other night again, which we did on the show. And there's a moment in it where somebody fucked up and they were just like, just keep rolling. Just keep rolling. They're supposed to light these candles. And like the guy goes to light the candle as he's like walking through this procession and misses, doesn't get it lit, and then goes back to try and get it again, like once or twice, and just realizes he's not going to be able to do it and keeps going. And it's super noticeable, but like, I'm sure that the people that made the movie were just like, no one's going to notice.
Well, I mean, for the last 40 or 50 years, it's been an environment where people know about the permanence of the kind of art that was considered to be ephemera back before that. But essentially, the people that made movies in those days were, unless they were an artist like Citizen Kane, like Orson Welles, they weren't making movies that were going to be that they were thinking were going to be judged for centuries. It was going to be out for a few weeks, and then there's be a re-release.
Maybe
and then
you would watch it once or twice in the theater. If you really liked it, you might go back for like a second or third time. But like
even that was rare in those days.
I don't know. It might not have been if you really liked it. But my point is like, so these Gene Kelly movies are great because he does amazing dancing. If you like those sorts of things, like, and you haven't seen Gene Kelly movies, you should, because he's such a good dancer. And he did all the choreography for American in Paris, which I did not know until I did a little bit of research. But the one thing that they kind of fuck up in those movies, and I'm going to ruin it for you guys for now and forever, and I apologize, but it annoys me, and I got to say it. They would shoot multiple takes of him doing dances and just in general, like big dance numbers. But the flooring that they put down on the sets, you can see that he's danced on that floor multiple times before, because the scuff marks from his shoes have worn into the flooring. So you see like where he's done the spins over and over again, because there's a circle and he's in the middle of it. And it's a thing that I've noticed now. The more that I watch old movies, is that they just didn't give a fuck. They were like,
nobody's looking at
we don't need to clean the fucking floor. Fuck that.
They were all shot in the studio on like a linoleum standard, studio floor. And it, floors get scuffed up and nobody gave a rat's ass because no one's going to notice that sort of thing. Also, I wanted to point this out.
What?
Gene Kelly's dirty, filthy feet in that movie.
Oh my God.
My feet are super clean.
His feet were fucking filthy. Anytime he was barefoot, they just didn't give a fuck. And then he'd like lay down on a bench or in bed or something.
Don't put those dirty feet in
bed, see these like black feet, like just from the dirt on the floor. Anyway, but the movies are great.
But okay, so American Paris is an American who lives in Paris and then meets a girl and loses the girl and gets the girl again, kind of movie?
Look, guys, here's musical movie like plot 101. There's a guy and or girl, and they meet a guy and or girl.
Our cat is sending us messages from the other room. Let's listen.
No. And they fall in love because it's arithmetic romance at its finest. And there's a complication of some sort, which is then resolved, usually by talking to the other party. But for the good majority of the film, no one talks to one another.
Yeah, there's so many misunderstandings.
Because no one can have just a conversation with one another. There goes our cat. Because that would make it too easy. It's just like
Harry Potter. Like if Dumbledore just would tell at the beginning,
just say like, "Hey, by the way, shit's gonna happen, and you're involved in it, and you might have to die in order for things to like resolve themselves."
On day one, like Dumbledore should have taken Harry Potter and sat him down and go like, "Look, there's all kinds of these people. I'm going to tell you the names of all these people. I'm going to tell you about your family and all this shit that happened. And unfortunately, you're stuck in the middle of this, kid, but you need to know this so that you can survive in this environment." No. And he constantly keeps secrets, even though Harry is like in danger of death all the time. And I guess Gene Kelly's never in danger of death during either one of these movies.
Yeah.
What happens in Anchors Away?
Anchors Away, it's two sailors on leave, and they meet up with a kid, a little kid, who is the guy from fucking Quantum Leap.
Oh,
not Scott Bakula.
No, the other guy. Yeah.
Whose name I'm totally fucking blanking on, but he's like tiny little boy. It's real weird. Just to I want to say Harry Dean Stanton, but I know.
No, I know it's a three-name guy.
It's a three-name guy,
and it's one of Alison Pregler's like obsessions. This dude.
But so they meet the kid who's running away to join the Navy, and they're like, the cops are like, "Hey, could you like take him home and tell him not to fucking try and join the Navy? He's like 6." And so so they're like, "Yeah, sure, we'll do that." And then shenanigans happen because Gene Kelly's character is trying to meet up with this hot chick because he's on leave. And then the other character, who's played by Frank Sinatra, Frank Sinatra is the square, like, not ladies' man in this movie, which to me was real weird because he's Frank Sinatra.
Sinatra was kind of an odd-looking guy for a long time, real skinny and.
Well, sure, but I mean, but still, just by reputation, it's weird to think of Frank Sinatra as like not being the like smooth guy.
Yeah, he's Mr. Smooth.
Yeah,
I mean, I was just saying the other day, for some another stupid reason of mine, I like audio equipment. That's how old I am. And I mean,
it's Dean Stockwell.
Dean Stockwell, thank you.
Only 2 names. Thank you,
Dean
Dave.
Stockwell.
Yeah, but only 2 names.
Right.
Yeah. I knew there was a Dean in there somewhere.
But there's this audiophile group had one photo of Frank Sinatra at home in his pad, his cool pad. And it showed some speakers and some amplifiers and stuff. And there was a huge ass discussion about like, what speakers did Frank have? What amplifier? That's obviously a Macintosh amplifier, but I can't tell if it's the 3100 or the 3500. That's how that's how much those people get into it. And that's how cool they think Frank Sinatra is, that they have to analyze equipment that was cutting edge 60 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so in Anchors Away, there's a misunderstanding that could easily be cleared up by talking to everyone, but they don't do that until the end of the movie. And there's a animated dance sequence that happens in the middle of it, which is really honestly the most innovative thing that happens in the movie. And probably everybody's seen parts of it because I know that it got used in a Coca-Cola commercial not that long ago. Gene Kelly live action dancing with an animated mouse.
Right. Yeah. Like Jerry from Tom and Jerry. Right?
Yeah. It's the mouse from Tom and Jerry.
Yeah, and I totally concur. Gene Kelly. I don't like Gene Kelly because he seems like a smarmy asshole, but he looks great. I mean,
he's really talented.
And yeah, it's innovative dancing in that he's not dancing like Fred Astaire. I'm doing a dance and looking great doing it. It's like the way he moves, like the sequence where he's like opening the window and moving the thing in his bed and reaching the coffee cup around, and it's like stuff you and I do every day.
Sure.
You know, because you're always like, you know, want to like maximize your time. But he looks great doing it. It's all choreographed and crowds of people all interacting live on stage. You know,
man, it was the best time to be an extra back then because they always needed you because they needed a fucking army of people to be in that shot. And it wasn't like you just like milled around and like had to walk, you know, in and out of the shot. I've done that. It's actually pretty great gig if you can get it because you get craft services and they pay you and you just mostly sit around and like read books and shit. But yeah, someday we'll do the movie that I was most recently an extra in. Because it's a horrible fucking Christmas
Dave
movie.
Claus? What is it called?
Fred Claus.
Fred Claus.
It's got Vince Vaughn in it, who, while we were doing the take, flicked a lit cigarette at my friend Kate while we were just being extras. He's a real prince of a guy. Anyway.
Are there any notable songs from those two movies that just like pop into your head as soon as you think of them?
Well, I mean, the entirety of American in Paris is all Gershwin music.
Okay, so but I mean, like, can you like
Wonderful's in it?
It's Wonderful, okay.
I mean, American in Paris, which is the ballet sequence at the end, which everyone's heard because.
And the famous music that runs through the whole film.
Yeah.
But like, for me, my favorite movie musical is The Music Man. I think you know that.
I did not know that.
Oh, okay.
But now I do.
Why is it my favorite? I could talk about it for a long time. It's my favorite. It's got everything's up to date in Kansas City, except that's from the worst musical, Oklahoma, isn't it?
Yes.
It's got.
It's not the worst musical, but it is a not great musical.
76 trombones. It's got.
It has Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana.
I played the pit orchestra for this.
Wells Fargo wagon is coming down the street, right? There's trouble right here.
Yes.
I got trouble right here in River City with a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool, right?
Yeah. All those things.
There's a bell on a hill, and I never heard it ringing.
Eric's going to reenact the entire musical for you guys.
No, but part of why I like that movie is because it's got like really good songs, and the performance of the guy. What was his name? As Harold Hill. The sort of like the main character.
Is it Dick Van Dyke?
No, it wasn't. Another famous actor who's very, very good. And I mean, there's some really good performances in it. I know a lot of musicals, but I'm not like a super fan. What's your favorite musical?
Well, I mean, I'm always going to have a soft spot for Gypsy because that was.
I didn't think of that.
It was the first pit orchestra I ever played, but also it was the reason that I went into burlesque because I didn't really know anything about burlesque until I saw it. And it seemed like a really great, fun idea to dress up like a gladiator and play a trumpet and get naked. That to me as a 14-year-old was like, yes.
I could definitely get behind that. That's really cutting edge. We saw Gypsy live and on stage, and I wasn't. Oh, gee, our cats are having a crazy time tonight.
That was Ozzy, by the way, in case anyone
mysterious Ozzy
was wondering.
I loved Gypsy. I didn't know this. I mean, I knew the songs from Gypsy. A lot of the songs. I didn't know that they were from Gypsy. I was going to guess "Singing in the Rain" is your favorite musical, but
I like "Singing in the Rain" a lot. As far as movie musicals go, that's probably one of my favorites.
I think movie critics would agree.
I like that one a lot. It's a lot of good stuff in that one. And Debbie Reynolds is in that, and she's great. She's super great in that. I got no complaints with that one.
West Side Story is pretty good.
West Side Story is great. I like that one a lot too. But there's actually a really great YouTuber who I think probably everybody has encountered at some point. But if you haven't, you should look up Lindsay Ellis.
Oh, she's great.
She used to be known as the Nostalgia Chick, but now she's off on her own. She does her own thing. She's Lindsay Ellis. She did a really great episode all about the great American movie musical. And it's totally worth watching.
Oh, it's serious film school shit, but she's super smart and very entertaining. Great at editing clips and stuff together to make her point. Awesome work that young woman does.
If you like movies and pop culture shit and you haven't run across her and you like watching videos on the YouTubes, which I assume you do because you're here, you should check her out because that that in particular was a really good episode.
Yeah, she's also on like PBS College of the Internet Waves. Like she does like episodes on that, and it's usually like film studies and like feminist studies and stuff like that. And she's really, really good.
Yeah. So so this is a kind of a good segue, because we're going to be screening a movie musical in just a few weeks for our annual Thanksgiving Eve movie screening of Can't Stop the Music, which you've heard us talk about a million times before. This is the Village People movie, and we fucking love it. And it has penis in it.
But like, you'd have to like freeze frame to get it. But oh yeah, Can't Stop the Music is, for me, like the very definition of camp. Camp is a hard thing to describe. Someone even like major, like a scholar or something, wrote a book about the definition of what camp is. And it's complicated and subtle. That movie is camp, and it is super entertaining. I think just like there's not a moment where you're not like at that film.
Look, the music's really great in it, and they're really, really sincere about what they're doing. Like, they really want you to go to the YMCA. They do. They think it's a fun place, and they really have a lot of energy about it. Milkshakes, they're really on board with milkshakes.
Yeah, they are.
Probably about a blowjob, but
we're not sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And
tits too. I mean, you can be milkshakes.
Yeah,
tits give milk. You shake them around.
I don't think that that's really what's going on. Hold on a second. Come on, be a good kitty. Sorry, we're having cat technical difficulties tonight because for some reason our cats are just fucking zooming around.
It happens.
It happens. We've got two of them, and our lovely studio has no doors.
Yeah. So definitely come to what's it called?
So if you're on the social medias, I know you are because you found your way here. But I've got event invites up on Facebook and Google Plus with the link that will take you directly to Rabbit, because we do all of our virtual screenings in Rabbit, which is a website/app that you can run off of your computer and or mobile devices, where we have a screening room and you can come in and you can chat and riff the movies with us, and we all watch the movie all at the same time. I was skeptical to begin with, but it works great. Yeah. And it's super simple. It works great. You don't even need the app. You can just get to it through your browser super easy. You can just watch it on your computer. And you don't have to stream the movie and listen to us separately. It's all together. We've got the movie, we stream it, send it to you. Yeah. And we've done a couple of these now. We did The Raven for Halloween, which was a lot of fun. Until I fell asleep. Eric fell asleep because of reasons. And we also did Child's Play, and we've done a couple other movies. Yeah, I had to we did Teenagers from Outer Space, which I created a video for based from our riffage of that movie, because there's so much phone acting in that film that you can literally tell the story of the movie just through the telephone conversations and the TV reports. So if you're into that sort of thing, it's, I think, about 6 or 7 minutes long. I put it up on our YouTube channel so you can watch it there. And if you, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to our channel. We still need a few more people in order to get smash that like button. Vanity URL. That's our goal. We just want to be Cinema Supercollider on the YouTubes, guys. I feel like we're on the Channel 11 PBS thing. We are. We've got a goal, ladies and gentlemen. We got 5 more minutes. If you call in right now, we're going to get you this robot. You can't buy this in a store. You can only get it from us. And we'll give it to you if you give us $1,000 contribution. I'll give it to them if they give us $1,000. Yeah, you could give us $1,000. I seriously, I'll give you this and anything else in this house that you want. No, we're not going to do that. We're not auctioning our shit off on YouTube. Yeah, you're right. You didn't. That's not part of our list of things that we're doing today. No, so you're right. No. But we're also going to do another exciting Rabbit event. Because we are collaborating with the guys, and by guys, I mean Eric and Eli from Janghu Hustle, which is another podcast about movies and also about role-playing games. and we are going to be watching Masters of the Flying Guillotine the following Wednesday with them.
Oh, that's going to be cool.
So, or Master of the Flying Guillotine. There's only one master.
Yeah.
Just one.
I don't know anything about like martial arts movies, and I really would enjoy I'm going to enjoy the opportunity to talk with people who are knowledgeable about that, because I'd like to know more about it and see it. I'd like to screen a movie like that, but I know nothing about it. And so it's like, I'd feel kind of weird to even do it.
Yeah. So those are a couple of events that we've got coming up. I see that, yes, that is what Twitch is for. We're old people and Twitch is hard.
Twitch is kind of optimized for video games, though.
No, I mean, you can do all kinds of shit in Twitch. But
maybe we should do it in Twitch, because everybody's got a Twitch thing now, right?
I don't know. We found Rabbit. It works pretty good for the size of our audience that we have right now, because the rooms can hold up to 79 people, and we don't have 79 people watching our films yet.
Yeah, after that's a fire hazard.
Yes, your internet will explode into flames. We can look into doing stuff on Twitch. It's just Rabbit is a little bit easier for us to access because, like I said, we're old and we can barely do this shit.
I had a
right here
D&D character named Rabbit, and every time I hear someone mention Rabbit, I think of my D&D character.
It's true. Eric would like to be Rabbit, his halfling bard.
It was a weird mirror of me. It really was.
Mm-hmm. You're taller than Rabbit is, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is it time? Is it the time for the Bag of Destiny to come out?
No.
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So
I should have drank that whole glass of whiskey, because this is going to be bad.
So to be fair, I picked Mutant Chronicles last time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get to pick the movie this time, because Mutant Chronicles was a soul-sucking experience that I never want to repeat again in my lifetime.
It's one where the hatred just keeps growing. You think it's over, like, oh God, thank God it's over, and then you start hating.
My hot take is I would rather watch Snowpiercer than Mutant Chronicles. So just let that sink in for a second, because if you listen to the podcast, you know exactly how fucking much I hate Snowpiercer. Mm. Though my hatred of Snowpiercer really has sort of like waned since we did the episode. It was like a boil that I lanced, and it's still healing, but it's not full of like anger pus anymore.
You've been watching too many dermatology videos.
I watched a lot of Dr. Pimple Popper. I won't lie.
Okay, hold up the Bag of Destiny so we can do this thing and get out of here. We don't want to keep our...
So wait, this is the lovely Bag of Destiny that I decorated in exactly 2 minutes.
We're going to add some more decorations to the Bag of Destiny.
I'll put some more shit on it.
All right, I'm going to reach in.
Scoop it around.
There, I'm going to pick one that's in a flat envelope, because those are the most mysterious ones. I probably could have clocked which ones were in the boxes, but I didn't. All right, here it is.
Okay.
I'm praying to Mongo, the god of movies. Here it is. Leatherheads. Oh, George Clooney and Renee Zellweger.
I mean, well, here, show the front of it, not the back. There you go.
What is this? Like a movie? Like an antique football movie?
It's a movie about old football times.
Okay.
Old-timey football.
It's nominiert for the Goldene Palme Cannes 2008. Well, some of it's in German, some of it's in English, and some's in Chinese. So we never know.
So now the big question is going to be, is this movie an actual copy of the film, or is it somehow a weird bootleg artifact that a dude in a movie theater with a video camera like filmed while everybody else was laughing and having a great time around him?
I don't think a lot of people were laughing and having a great time at Leatherheads.
I don't know.
Was it critically acclaimed? It kind of appeared and sank beneath the waves. I'd like to see another, like a old time sports movie. Those are fun, right?
We don't know if it's in German yet, Dave. It might be in Russian. It could just be in Chinese. Who knows? I once had a bootleg copy of Crank 2, which was it's a weird fucking movie. And we're going to do it on the show because I love the Crank movies so much because they're batshit crazy. But I was watching the movie and we got to like the last 5-10 minutes of it. and it just suddenly started it was just in Russian. And I was like, okay, well, they've had weird language shifts in this entire film, so I guess the end of it is just in Russian, and it's got weird subtitles. And so I watched it, and it was like the last few minutes of the movie and then the credits, and the credits were all in Russian. And I was like, oh, no. This is just the DVD's just fucked up because it's a bootleg.
Yeah. So Leatherheads, a rom-com about antique football players.
Well, I don't think the football players are antique. I think it's just old-timey.
Old-timey football players.
When you say antique football players, it makes me think of like octogenarian football players, which I don't.
Larry Zonka. Where is he now?
I might want to see a movie about octogenarian football players, as long as it was funny and not sad.
Yeah. Brian's Song is a sad movie.
Yeah. But anyhow, so we will have that one up and available in a couple of weeks once we've watched it. What's the one we're doing this week?
We are doing Skidoo.
Oh, that's a shitty movie.
It's interesting though.
Okay. Well, see, because we like to do interesting shitty movies, not just shitty movies.
Most movies that are shitty because they're fucking boring.
Yeah, boring shitty movie is not as much fun as an interesting shitty movie, to be sure. Yeah. Now, you said Groucho Marx is in it?
He plays a character called God. He is the head of the mafia.
Okay.
But he's
not actually God.
No, but there's some element of there might be some supernatural element to it. There's a lot of acid being taken. Carol Channing's in it. Harry Nilsson did the score for the movie.
Okay. Which is why it's important to you. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, partly. I mean, it's weird, and it's everybody who likes bad movies should see it. I firmly believe that. I
haven't seen it yet, so I will be watching it with virgin eyes, whereas Eric has seen this before.
But you're not going to like it. It's not a good movie, but you will find it interesting and weird. I promise you.
Yeah, I hope so. Otherwise, I'm real angry again.
But we like it when you're angry. You do a funny show when you're angry.
Angry or drunk, guys. Just put Super Seal next to Mutant Chronicles, and that's probably my highlight reel right there.
I'm going to get you a beer bong and pour some liquor down your throat next time before we do a show.
Nah, I just need to drink like a hot toddy. That's what got the giggling going on Super Seal.
Oh.
I like the hot booze, guys. Hot booze is the best, especially now that it's cold outside. So
that has a seal crawling around in a desert while Werner Herzog narrates its last part of its life.
There's no Werner Herzog narration in the actual movie. In the actual movie, there is.
Oh, that was me. Yeah,
that was just you.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, that was just you. That was just you.
Werner Herzog lives in a little corner of my brain, like a poor simulacrum, like a homunculus of Werner Herzog was like back here.
Does he just narrate your life?
He whispers every once in a while into my life when I'm doing something and I feel doom,
Fair enough. Okay, well,
good night, everybody. I enjoy doing these things. I really do.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming and watching the movie chat and chatting with us. Like I said, we got some exciting things coming up. So if you don't follow us on the social medias, we're on all of them.
Twitter,
except the
Instagram?
Snapchat, because again, we're old and we don't understand Snapchat. We don't get it. What the fuck is it? Why did the children
Pinterest.
Like it?
What is Pinterest?
I'm on Pinterest.
Okay. Are we on Pinterest?
No, we're not. Actually, I think we are.
Oh.
So yeah, we're on the Facebooks, the Google Pluses,
the Tumblrs. The Tumblr?
We don't have the Tumblr.
I made a Tumblr for us, and I probably locked out. I have no idea what it is anymore.
We're shitty at social medias that we forget about. So, but we are actively on Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, and Instagram.
And if that's not enough for you, go pound sand.
And obviously, we're on the YouTubes now as well. So, so follow us and check out some of our stuff that's coming up. And our next episode will be out on Monday.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. You're gonna have to do the thing.
We're still on.
Yeah, I need you to push the button.
We should tell a joke.
No, push the button, Frank.
How do we do it?
Just push the button.
This one?
Yeah.